We have a special guest today, Gavin from Locafy, the founder and CEO over the last 15 and a half years. Thank you for sitting down and talking all things business and technology with me today.
Absolute pleasure, David. Thanks for having me. And yeah, looking forward to having a chat.
As we get into it, what is Locafy?
Locafy is a technology company. We specialize in search engine optimization, both for client properties, websites, and also we own quite a number of digital properties ourselves, directories and content sites. And yeah, so what we do is we basically help those properties get to the top of search in Google for the keywords that people want them to appear for.
Who's your key audience? Who do you target?
That's a really good question. Look, ultimately, the end customer is the business owner, but how we get there is typically through partners. And we tend to deal a lot with media agencies, digital agencies, and publishers who have their clients that they're trying to solve a problem for. And for us, that gives us the chance for scale as well. So really, there are two audiences there. The end customer, obviously, we've got to provide a solution that works for them, but the path to them is typically through a third party, one of those that I just mentioned, yeah.
So the partnerships are really important for your business.
Oh, super important. We solve a problem that a lot of these agencies are unable to solve. Like we get rankings typically much faster than traditional SEO techniques, and that's something that's highly valuable to our partners because it gives them a point of difference in the marketplace. Yeah,
definitely. Now, as we get into the story of Locafy, how you decided to create that, what was one of the biggest challenges that you faced when starting out?
Well, starting out was interesting. I had a great job. I was general manager of digital for a national media group, and it was actually bought out by a mining magnate. And I guess he decided that most of the C-levels weren't required anymore. So I was about to go on paternal leave for the birth of my fourth child, my lovely daughter, Isla, who I know how long the business has been going because she was born 4 days after I was given the notice that we were no longer required because apparently digital wasn't going to be important anymore. So the biggest challenge was actually just thinking about what to do and where to start. So I had quite a grounding in publishing, both as a journalist and on the advertising side as well. So really figuring out what to do and where to go. And yeah, it's been quite a journey over those 15 years, but that was the tricky thing, is just to figuring out because it wasn't by choice that I necessarily started it, but I wouldn't change anything. But yeah, that's how things got started.
Now, knowing that you guys have been around for almost 16 years, so 15 and a half years, and you guys are a publicly traded company, what did that journey look like from the beginning to where you are today?
Well, let's just say roller coaster is not a bad way to describe it. And I think that'd be fairly typical of many journeys as a small business. There are lots of ups and downs, and in publishing and SEO, there's been numerous changes. So believe it or not, when we started out the business, iPhones didn't exist, as an example. So we were doing websites on Nokias and things like that probably to a lot of the younger audience wouldn't know what a Nokia is. But yeah, so iPhones only came into the frame, a year or so after we started publishing, and then iPads and so forth. So the whole challenge of making content work on devices was a big thing back in those days, and that's something that we specialised in. Was actually making websites work across whatever device, mobile, tablet, and PC, which of course today is passé. That's just expected that it happens, but we actually invented some technology that was world class at the time, and we'd struggled to commercialize that because people thought it was great, but there was no burning need to do it. So we'd solved the problem that for many of them, they went, yeah, okay, that's nice. But yeah, so to figure out that commercial model for us was challenging for quite a few years, even though we had, groundbreaking patented technology to make content work. But the tipping point for us was really understanding that the content, it was great to have content that looked good and worked across all devices, but ultimately people just wanted to be found. That content wanted to be read, and that's where we really did change course, and things have gone from there.
Now that's interesting that you mentioned that you guys had this groundbreaking technology. Like you guys knew this is like the best thing, but you had to switch course because people weren't ready for that. Now, are you guys dealing with any of that now as technology is ever evolving?
Yeah, we're constantly having to deal with change. By the nature of SEO, Google is both a friend and a foe in many respects. It changes all the time. You'll hear about core updates, every now and then, but we see changes on a almost monthly basis, and we track and monitor that, and that's a really challenging thing to do, but it actually helps keep us at the top of what we believe is the field. So yeah, that's a really big challenge ongoing for sure, and then throw AI into that mix.
Yeah, without giving any of your secret sauce away, and AI, I think it's going to be rampant with pretty much any business out there.
Yeah.
Are you guys working AI currently for the future generation of Locafy?
Absolutely. We'd be crazy not to. Yeah, so we think, again, AI is both a friend and a foe. And well, none of us can predict the future. We need to, I guess, prepare ourselves for that. So just some of our thoughts around AI and how it will impact. It's definitely going to. So the way we see Google at the moment is you put a search query in, you get a result, and that's based on their algorithm, and they've got a particular way that they do that. And we do keep up to date. We are constantly testing, we're constantly publishing and seeing what is actually happening, because what we're told in the market, these changes are about, I can assure you it's not exactly how they are. We know that through testing. But if I could summarize what we think the difference is going to be between AI and Google is, Google gives you a result and then that's it, right? So then you have to make a decision. Do you want to read that or do you want to do another search? AI is going to bring, we think, a different angle to that, where it's a little bit more communicative. It'll bring you a result and then say, hey, do you want to know more about the menu? Do you want to know more about this? It'd be potentially a little more engaging. So I think it will be a threat. And I think it's definitely going to take some market share, and it will appeal to a lot of people, the way that the search results are going to come back. So yeah, we have to be ready for that.
Yeah, I think that every business that I've talked to, or our own business, that's something that we really had to know ahead of time, that AI is going to revolutionize everything, and the monotonous tasks are going to be gone during that time. As we decide to, sorry about that. As we decide to switch gears here, one of the things that I always look for is, how did you become a CEO? You mentioned earlier that you were executive at one of the firms, and then they were going out, and this was when your daughter was born. But early life, is this something that you always wanted to do, is be an SEO and publishing and the arts part of it?
Oh, definitely publishing. I've always loved publishing, from when it was print through to, through digital. But I'm old enough to remember we didn't have computers. So when we started out as a journalist, I was a graded journalist. I went through my cadetship and got qualified. We literally used typewriters, and we basically submit our paper to the editor. There was no computer to use. So no, I had no idea this is where it would go. But I do remember seeing a television show when I was a bit younger, talking about this thing called IT, and I thought, that sounds really cool. I wonder what that's about. Not really understanding, but no, publishing would be my first love, and that's really, when you boil it down, that's what we are today. We're a publisher that has very, very good SEO. and that's definitely the direction, that the transformation that we're making. So no, I couldn't have predicted I'd be in this when I started out. No.
Now, what's one of your biggest failures, both in your personal life and in business, to get to you where we are today as a public company?
Well, to quote a line from Top Gun, the list is long and glorious. I think, failure is a part of, is actually a big part of every entrepreneur's journey. Hopefully you don't make the same mistake twice, but perhaps one, big one I made early out, when I decided I left journalism and wanted to be my own publisher, and built up a national business, franchisees in multiple states. We're doing advertising coupons and things like that. We had 40 or 50 publications across these states. And I was thinking ahead, going, right, how do we get an edge commercially and put in place national printing contracts, which was great, unless your partners don't pay the bills and leave you with that. So that was a very expensive learning exercise, that one, but one that I wouldn't make again. In terms of where we're at today, I guess it's we've had to make a lot of pivots. So I wouldn't call them failures. This is a very fast-moving industry. So something which is topical and important to a business today will change tomorrow. So I think I gave one example before. We built this incredible technology. It was patented. It solved what we thought was a big problem, and we were unable to get traction with that commercially. And then, the other technologies came in and kind of not superseded it, but were good enough to replace what we did. So a mistake is not, you have to be prepared to throw away what you got and start again if you need to, because it's, if you continue doing something that's clearly got no future, it's going to end badly. So being able to pivot and make those changes, and keep moving, stay in the game.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good quote right there, is just stay in the game, pivot and stay in the game. Now, as we spoke earlier, you were in basketball. Is that something that helped you with your leadership skills that you have right now as the founder?
I hope so. Yeah, I always took a leadership role in basketball. I played competitively until I was 53. So when I say competitively, I'm not, it was a social, but it was still, the older you get, the more competitive you are, I guess, in many respects. But yeah, I think so. Teamwork, understanding that everybody has a role. Like in basketball, you got people of all different shapes and sizes and strengths and weaknesses, and that's what makes the team. You can't have a team of all centers or all guards. It won't work. You need a combination, and it's the same in business. You need that sort of combination of the right people, and you have to be prepared to listen to them as well, and not just be a dictator and say, well, this is my way or the highway. Everyone has in that leadership group has a role, responsibility, and something to contribute.
Now, I found sports has always correlated to business, and when you talk about knowing your role, did you learn more from, like, say, your parents or mentor, or did you learn more from your coaches, or were the coaches your actual mentors?
Yeah, great question. Definitely coaches were mentors. Particularly in the early days, I was very, very fortunate to have some wonderful coaches who taught me a lot, not just about basketball, but just about, I guess, life in general. So very fortunate there. And obviously, parents are a huge influence. They're a big part of your life. I'm fortunate that my parents are still around, which is wonderful. And then as you grow older and you marry and have children, then they become, a big influence on your life as well. So certainly bosses. I guess I've been the CEO of this company for 15 years. So it would be someone like my chairman, Colin Visaggio, who's a mentor, and I wouldn't, somebody I really look up to. And yeah, so I guess through the mentors have changed over time, as my situation has changed and business has changed and life's changed. But they've all played a very valuable role.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good blessing to have your parents still, and then obviously having, like, your chairman and mentors as they go. When you were first starting out in business, how did you approach to get a mentor first? Like, was it something that you approached, or was it by osmosis? How did you get a mentor?
Well, I guess I had a group mentor. So I was very fortunate to join a group called the Young Presidents Organization, the YPO, when I was about 28 or 29. I forget. It's half a lifetime ago. But that was a group of, like-minded business people who, you could have your monthly meetings, and you could seek advice and guidance. Not so much advice. You weren't allowed to give advice. You could just share experiences. And I found that incredibly helpful, probably one of the most influential parts of my life. And many of those people that I met during that time are still friends today. So yeah, that was one group that I found incredibly beneficial and useful, the way that they went about it. So I'd recommend that to anybody as an option. You had an entire group of 7 or 8 guys in your forum that you could call at any time of day or night if you needed to. That was really fantastic.
No, I highly suggest anybody get a group like that. I think that the biggest thing that we're missing today in business is people investing in themselves. They're willing to invest in other people or invest in their company, but they're not willing to invest in themselves and know that you're getting knowledge because we are all so different. That's a key point that you put out there, Gavin. So as we get to more of like the inner workings of what you guys do, if you weren't doing this role today, what type of role would you do?
Oh, that's a really, really tricky question. So I can't imagine not doing this, but if I wasn't doing this, I would probably be in some type of writing or some type of marketing role or some type of creative pursuit like that. I just love publishing. So if I wasn't doing this, I would probably be doing something like, um, you know, um, some other form of publishing on my own, writing or the like. So it's something I've loved ever since I was a kid. That's the first thing I got into was journalism, and then magazine editing and so forth. So yeah, not sure what else I could do.
Well, the good thing is you learned early what your passion was, and you found something that you really enjoy. Have you decided to write a book?
Oh, you know what? It's quite funny. I did think when I was younger, I want to write a book on what to do and how to do things. And as I got older, I thought really that was not very good because I didn't know anything at the time. Um, Look, I don't know. Let's keep the door ajar on that one. I think there's probably quite a few things that I could share, both good, bad, and somewhat indifferent. But I guess everybody's got a story in them, and you never know. Maybe I did joke a few years ago because we talked about how much of a roller coaster ride being an entrepreneur is, and I've got the title of the book if it's ever going to be written, and do you want to know what that is?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that was easy. Um, um, Sarcastically, of course, but yeah, because nothing's easy.
Yeah.
But
Now you talked about some of those very troubling times was there a time that you over the last 15 years that you just said, I can't do this? And when you got to that point, how did you um, get over the hump to continue to go?
there's been several times where I thought, I'm just not sure how we're going to get through. But never once did I think I was going to quit.
That's a great way to look at it, that you went through some of these valleys, but there's no quit in you. It was either going to make it or not, and it was always going to be 100% going forward.
Yeah, that's true. I can look anyone in the eye and say that's true. Yeah, never once thought about quitting, but by gee, it got tough sometimes. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, as we get ready to wrap up the podcast today, there's a couple of questions that I love asking, because these are questions that I learn a lot from, and you actually help so many more people by these two. One of them is what's the top 3 books that you recommend to anyone to read?
Well, there's a lot of books. There's some fun books that I've read. One of my favorite non-fiction is fiction is the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and that whole series. But if we look at the business side of things, the books that I read multiple times when I was starting out was How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. I read that multiple times, highlighted things that I thought were important, and wrote notes. I've still got it today. The Richest Man in Babylon is another one. George Clason. And another one, which is a bit more simplistic, but I actually happened to share the same life coach at one point as this gentleman, Robert Kiyosaki, was Rich Dad Poor Dad is probably the other book. So
But
in terms of business, they're not heavy duty, but they've got great messages in them.
Yeah, and I think philosophies in life it's very important when you're in business, the influence people. The also Rich Dad Poor Dad is someone that I really respect, knowing that where he came from and what his view on life and what money is and so forth.
Yep.
And as we get ready to end, what is one question during this sit down that you wish that I would ask, and can you go ahead and detail what you would have answered?
My goodness. I think you've asked some great questions. My goodness. What do I do when I'm not working, perhaps? Or sport? I don't know. Yeah. I don't really think about why don't we go with what's something that people wouldn't know about you necessarily?
That's a good one. Honestly, I think I might have to ask on everyone, what is something that someone who's just me and you wouldn't know anything about?
Okay, so one of the things that I'm pretty proud of was I did play basketball, and I played at a reasonable level. But when I was 16, I was playing for a little country town called Geraldton, and we went to Perth for the state championships. And as I say, we're very lucky. We had the former Australian under-20s coach just happened to get the gig as a school teacher at our school, which was like, wow, amazing. So he helped transform a lot of us into half-decent players. Anyway, I said to the coach when we saw this group from Kent Street, which is a name that nobody'd ever heard of, and I lived in the state, and there's 2 giant people started walking towards our court. And I said to the coach, their coaching staff's really big, isn't it? And he said, no, son, that's who you're playing. And it was Luke Longley, who now plays for
Bulls.
For the Bulls, and Andrew Vlahoff, who captained Australia for 10 years. Longley was only about 6'10" or 6'11" at that point in time. And Vlahoff was he was 6'7" when he was 12. I think he's a massive man. Anyway, we were up at halftime. We got smashed in the second half, but yeah, so so as a youngster, I had the privilege of playing against a former NBA superstar. We got pants, but that's okay. It was just something that I always remember.
I love those sports stories. Obviously, my sports background. To hear that and know that you did play against a future Hall of Famer, and know that you could compete with anyone, I think you probably took a lot of lessons out of that.
He was the biggest human being I'd ever seen.
Now, just so people know, your stock ticker is LCFY, correct, on NASDAQ?
That is correct, LCFY.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining me on all things business and technology today, Gavin.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks very much, David. Really enjoyed the chat.
Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you'll tune in next time. For more information on how we can help your business, check out our website at sigmaways.com. I'd love to hear your feedback. Please send me a message with any topic or questions you want me to cover. Also, if you're in the world of business and technology, I would love to have you as a guest. Please hit the like and subscribe button below and stay up to date on the next video. Once again, I'm David, and this is All Things Business and Technology. Cheers.